Hi, and welcome to SNA International series on mass fatality response planning. This module is about factors affecting a mass fatality response. My name is R.B. Goings. I'm the Director of Mass Fatality Planning and Response Services with SNA International. For those of you who do not know me, well, here's a picture. Although all mass fatalities will involve the recovery and identification of those who have perished, the specifics of the response effort will differ somewhat from incident to incident based on several factors which we will examine in this presentation. It is imperative that local authorities consider these factors as they assemble or construct the response effort so that an effective response operation can be established to better serve the needs of their affected community. One of the most significant factors affecting the response is whether the deceased represent an open or closed population. In an open population incident, the identities of those who have perished is not immediately known at the onset of the incident. Examples of open population incidents are the World Trade Center attacks, with the exception of those on the airlines, and Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. In each of these incidents, a true list of the missing had to be developed so that authorities would know who was indeed missing and presumably deceased, so as to focus their attention on these individuals. Open population incidents require a robust missing persons effort, working in concert with the mass fatality response to develop this list of those who are truly missing and who have most likely perished. Because the need to establish and conduct missing persons investigations, typically an open population incident response will last longer than a closed population incident and will be more complex. In a closed population incident, the identities of those who have perished is immediately known at the onset of the incident. Examples of closed population incidents are commercial airline accidents or perhaps charter or school bus accidents. In all of these examples, there's a manifest available listing the names of those on board. The effect on the response is that very little, if any, missing persons effort will be required and more resources can be directed at the identification process. It's really matching names on the manifest with human remains in the morgue. One of the most obvious factors affecting the scope of the response are the number of fatalities. The greater the number of deceased individuals, the more resources will be required, both in personnel, in equipment and supplies, all of this needed to conduct the effort. When we speak of personnel, it's not only the initial staffing needs that need to be considered, but backfilling positions as the response ensues. Typically, volunteer responders are limited on the length of time they can support a response. Many will have to return home after only a few weeks as they have jobs and other responsibilities they must return to. Equipment and supplies can include everything from body bags to removal equipment, morgue equipment and supplies, as well as equipment and supplies needed for the Family Assistance Center. Increased number of deceased individuals will require larger facilities for both temporary morgue and Family Assistance Center operations. Lastly, but certainly not least, a longer response will increase the overall cost of operations. The rate of remains recovery is typically affected by the size and scope of the incident, including such things as the number and condition of human remains and the size and condition of the incident site itself. The more spread out an incident is, the longer it will take to effectively search the area for human remains. Weather can certainly affect the rate of recovery, such as extreme heat or cold, and that response personnel must be protected from these extreme conditions. Other weather-related issues such as rain and snow will surely impede and slow the recovery operation. The topography of the incident site can affect the rate of recovery as well, as there is a significant difference and recovering remains from a flat, easy-to-navigate landscape from that of a mountainous or swampy area, which will require specialized equipment and personnel. So what effect does a slower rate have on the response? First, the amount of time and the resources needed will be increased. There will be scheduling challenges as recovery operations continue, and the longer it takes to recover the bodies, the more expensive the response effort will be. Now let's talk about the condition of the remains and the effect that will have on the response. Human remains may be fragmented, they may be burned, decomposed, or possibly contaminated. Fragmented remains will have to be recovered each as a separate recovery. In the field, one can never assume any two fragments have come from the same individual. This will increase the number of individual recoveries. Fragmentation can place a greater demand on the DNA effort as well if the decision is made to identify each and every recovered remain. Burned and decomposed remains can hinder the identification process, as postmortem identifiers may be affected by the burning or decomposition, such as fingerprints, birthmarks, or scars. Contaminated remains pose a huge challenge, as they will need to undergo a decontamination process prior to postmortem examination. All of these factors I've just outlined will hinder the identification process, require a greater number and type of resources, and increase the overall cost of the response. When an incident is confined to a single jurisdiction, such as a county or city, the issue of who's in charge is typically quite clear. However, when a mass fatality incident crosses jurisdictional boundaries, management and oversight responsibility can become complicated. Multi-jurisdictional incidents will require a great deal of coordination and cooperation between the affected jurisdictions to mitigate confusion among the public and those who are in charge. Although survivor displacement seems to be the exception rather than the rule, it has occurred in the past and has the potential to be repeated in future incidents. This is when the surviving family members of those who have perished are displaced from their neighborhoods and are scattered out in nearby as well as far-off communities. This displacement complicates the gathering of antemortem data and hampers an ongoing communication with these surviving family members. Additionally, survivor displacement may create difficulties for family members to arrange the release and final disposition of the deceased and will lengthen the overall response effort. Typically, the local medical examiner or coroner is responsible for assembling an identification team comprised of various forensic disciplines, then ensuring that these forensic specialists follow the established procedures for the collection of ante and postmortem data. Then they are responsible for the actual identification of the deceased. The only way to effectively and efficiently implement a mass fatality response is through preparation and planning. Executing a deliberate plan rather than implementing complex operations on the fly will, one, decrease cost. It will allow for a more rapid response. It will minimize the response effort. It will also minimize confusion and chaos, and it will increase the public's satisfaction and confidence in your office's ability to identify those who have perished. I hope you found this presentation informative. If you or your agency find yourself unprepared for a mass fatality incident or wanting to refine or practice your existing plans, please contact us at www.sna-intl.com or email us at info@sna-intl.com, or give our staff a call at area code 703-370-1930. Again, this is just one in a series of modules regarding mass fatality response planning. I invite you to watch all of the modules and trust that you will find them equally as informative. Thank you.